Hi guys, welcome to today's video and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Kira. This is my son Kai, and I am obsessed with all things beauty and makeup and true crime, and I have combined my love of beauty and my love of true crime into this series called Makeup and Mystery, and that is what we are doing today. So anyways, let's get into it. We are going to be talking about a case that I'm sure a lot of people already know about, and that is the Natalee Holloway case. So, like I said, I'm pretty sure most people know about this case. It's very intriguing. It's pretty famous, in my opinion. It got a lot of heat. And I think that the biggest thing to note is that her remains, still to this day, to 2022, have not been found. So, let's go ahead and get into it. So anyways, Natalee Holloway was a high school student. She had just graduated, and they were doing like a senior kind of like trip after they graduated. The school was for like the seniors to go to Aruba, and there were some adults there that were supervising because I mean they were 18. But anyways, Natalee went on this trip to Aruba, and it's actually legal there for the 18-year-olds to drink. So they were kind of like going crazy, and they had an all like an exclusive like pack, so they had unlimited alcohol from what I researched. So the teenagers found out that the place to go in Aruba was called Carlos and Charlie's, or Carlos and Charlie's. So that is where the teens went because they only had a visa there for like 4 days. So that's where the teenagers went to party and, you know, get drunk and all that stuff and enjoy their little vacation for graduating high school. Was at Carlos and Charlie's. So this is actually, in my opinion, this isn't what the police report says, but in my opinion, that is where Natalee technically disappeared, because the last people that she knew saw her alive leaving Carlos and Charlie's with a man named Joran Vandersloot, who's very, very famous now. But anyways, people that know Natalee, like her classmates that were there with her on the trip, all say that they last saw her leaving Carlos and Charlie's in a white van with Joran Vandersloot. And that was the last time they saw her alive. The next day they were getting ready, because it was literally the day before they left, to leave, to go on a bus to go to like the airport and stuff. And that is when they all noticed that Natalee wasn't there. And they kind of said that they started making jokes, saying like, oh my gosh, is she passed out? Is she really that passed out hungover to miss this? And it didn't take long after that for them to realize that Natalee was actually missing, and she hadn't returned to the hotel room that night. So the chaperones, who are supposed to be making sure that the kids are safe, inform Natalee's mother, Beth Holloway Twitty, who is divorced from Natalee's father. And Beth instantly goes to Aruba to start the investigation, to start looking for her daughter. So a lot of people actually say, and they believe, and I believe it too, that the Holloways were victims of the Aruban government police force doing a botched investigation. And I really believe this too, because the Aruban police actually refused to classify Natalee as a missing person because they were on a vacation island, and they thought, oh, well, maybe she's just passed out drunk somewhere. And they were like, no, no one has seen her. She's missing. So it didn't take long after the investigation started for them to, arrest Joran and the Calpo brothers, who were also there at Carlos and Charlie's, and were said to have been there with Joran and Natalee that night. And they didn't have enough evidence, so they had to release them. But that didn't stop the investigation. They were still going to be looking into Natalee's disappearance. And the theory for the police force is that Joran had drugged Natalee, because apparently when Beth, Natalie's mother, went to he just licked my back. Went to the hotel that Natalie was staying at, and she asked about Joran Vandersloot. The receptionist actually said that Joran was known for taking advantage of women on the island, which not good at all. Another thing I find interesting is that they actually believe Joran Vandersloot's father, whose name I cannot pronounce, so I am just going to call him Mr. Vandersloot, helped Joran in getting rid of Natalie's body. And they actually believe that Mr. Vandersloot had connections to the mafia, but what I find amazing is that he was also a judge in training. So he's a judge in training, has connections to the mafia, supposedly, and also Joran at the time was the godson of the police chief at the time. He was the godson. So he really, I feel like we're kind of protecting him. You know, like, they did arrest him, obviously, because it was so suspected that he did something to Natalie, and like I said, the police actually have a theory, and they actually think that the theory is that Joran had roofied Natalie, and somehow the roofied, like, didn't agree with her, and she passed out, and Joran thought she was dead, and like, took care of her remains, basically, like that. However, no one has been able to find her remains. And the reason people believe it was Joran that did something to her is because he has changed his story so many times since this happened in 2005. And, I mean, if you guys know anything about, like, crime, I'm sure this is going to be obvious. But if somebody's changing their story multiple times, chances are they have something to hide, or they did it themselves because they're trying to change the story of what happened to make it best fit them. So, that is the theory of the police force in Aruba, and actually Aruban police have declared this case closed. Even though Natalie's remains have never been found and she is still technically a missing person, she has, since 2012, been declared legally dead because I guess, like, her family got, like, heat for doing this, but Natalie had money in her college fund that, you know, her family is pretty sure she is dead, that Joran killed her. And I'm pretty sure that most, like, people actually believe that too, to this day. So, Natalie had money in her college fund that, since her family does believe she is dead, that is never going to get used. So, to get into the college fund, because they were going to use that college money to send Natalie's brother to college, too. And they had to legally presume her dead. So Natalee Holloway is legally presumed dead, and I'm sure most people have come to the conclusion that she is dead. However, I want to bring this up because it's also a very important topic, and I think this story as well. And that is that Joran Vandersloot was actually well known in Thailand for being in the, like, sex trafficking. Like, he would literally convince, like, poor women to come with him, and then he'd sell them into sex slavery. He would get like $14,000 for it. So that is something I think could be big in the case, because maybe I might be holding out hope, because Joran was quite young when Natalie disappeared. But I'm holding out hope for her family that she will be found one day alive, and that is what happened. This case got so much attention that Joran actually decided to take advantage of it in a financial gain, and he contacted Fox Network, I think in 2009, but I could be wrong, to do an exclusive interview about what happened to Natalie. And he told them, and I'm pretty sure you can still find the interview on YouTube. You can find everything on YouTube. But anyways, he actually told them in this interview that he did sell Natalie into sex slavery, and that a guy actually paid him money to get him a blonde girl, and that is what happened to Natalie. And he even made up something like that the guy who paid him was $200, that he brought Natalie to was $200 short, which is just like something really, really weird to kind of say in an interview. However, after he left and he had gotten his money, he did text the Fox Network people, or he emailed them or whatever. I don't know what he did. But he let the Fox Network people know that everything that he had just said was a lie and he had just said it to get money. However, Fox ended up showing the interview anyway. They ended up airing it anyways because they wanted to get out there the kind of person that Joran was. That at this point he is really just willing to do anything for money. And he is very famous for the Natalee Holloway case. Another thing is that Joran Vandersloot's father, Mr. Vandersloot, who a lot of people suspect of being involved in this case also. There's so many times that we see true crime cases where the parents actually help the children get out of, like, they kill somebody and the parents are actually helping them get out of it. And it's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? You're just causing harm for another parent. I don't understand why. And I was even talking to my mom about that. My mom was like, you know something? I'd help my kid to an extent, but not covering up a murder. So, he drops dead in the middle of a tennis game. So, everything that he knew is now gone. We can't ask him anything because he's now dead. And another interesting part of this case is 5 years to the day Joran Vandersloot, that Natalee Holloway went missing, Joran Vandersloot kills another girl. This girl was named Stephanie Flores, and let me just clarify a little bit. So, after Joran's father passes away, Joran decided to cash in on that and contacts Natalie's mother, Beth Holloway, and says, if you give me $250,000, I'll tell you where Natalie's remains are. Now, obviously, Beth had no intention of paying him, because who would? Because she's very positive he killed her daughter. Why would I give you money for killing my child? But, of course, and we also know that he's a liar. But, of course, Beth wanted to take every possible action that she can to have her daughter be brought home, to give her daughter proper burial. So they get the FBI involved, and Joran gets $25,000 up front and tells them this bogus story about Natalie being buried under a house that his dad was constructing, which the FBI and the Aruban police were able to prove that that story was false, because the house that Joran is referring to wasn't actually under construction at the time of Natalie's disappearance. So anyways, Joran gets away, and he goes, I don't know where he went to. But he goes to some casino somewhere, he gets away, and uses the money that the Holloway family just gave him and gambles it away. And I guess he almost had it completely gambled away. And that's where he meets Stephanie Flores. And there's even a surveillance video of him meeting Stephanie Flores in this casino, and them talking and them getting up and leaving. And that is where, this is just so sad, he kills Stephanie Flores is in this hotel room of this casino. So, like I said, 5 years to the day that Natalie goes missing, Joran kills Stephanie Flores. And unlike Natalee Holloway, he was very, very sloppy. So if his dad did help him with the Natalee Holloway case, he should have stopped there, because he did not know what else he was doing and was bound to get caught without his father's protection. So, anyways, they know it was Euron that killed Stephanie because there's like surveillance literally of him leaving his room and Stephanie not. Like them going in and then Stephanie not leaving. So, Euron is found and arrested for Stephanie Flores' murder. Apparently, Euron actually has been caught in jail at this point saying that he killed Natalee Holloway, but at this point, no one believes him, and you can't really blame anybody because the guy's like lied so many times. There's even a show, or there was, I think it actually got canceled, and it had like a lot of heavy criticism, where Natalie's father, Dave, actually went to Aruba to try and do an investigation himself. He did that to try and find out what happened to Natalie, which you cannot blame him for wanting to find out what happened to his daughter. There was apparently a guy that came forward saying that some guy that he lived with claims to have known what happened to Natalie's body, that Euron had buried her underneath a cactus in the desert, and a few years later he got like nervous about people finding her, and he hires this John guy to dig her up and throw her in the ocean, which he says he did. And if he did that, I think that the Room police have actually said that if that's true, the chances of finding Natalie are like very slim to none because she went out to the ocean. Which, that's so sad if this is true. But they have not been able to prove it yet. I mean, like I said, her remains have not been found. I feel like it would be awesome. Like, it would be awesome if we could find her remains, or if we could find her alive, because that's able to close this really long case. The same thing with Madeleine McCain and John Bennett, which a lot of people actually think that this John character is kind of like the John Bennett Ramsey case, because there was actually a guy in the John Bennett Ramsey case who became so obsessed with the case that he actually confessed to killing John Bennett because he was so obsessed with it, when in fact the police were able to prove that he had absolutely nothing to do with it, and he literally only confessed because he was so obsessed with the case. And I guess this does happen a lot. So I guess like the big thing to say is that Euron is in jail right now, and I'm pretty sure that after he serves his, like, I think he had like 20-something years for Stephanie Flores' murder, I think he actually gets extradited back to the United States because he took the Holloway's money. The Holloways got him on something. I can't remember what it is because I didn't write all my notes before I filmed this, because Brandon's mom is sending me a bunch of stuff for the kids and I don't know why, but anyways, so I got a lot on my mind. But anyways, the Holloways actually got him for something to do with that money that he took, and he said a lie, so he like defrauded them. So the Holloways did get him on something. So I'm actually pretty sure he gets extradited back to the United States and is going to serve jail time in the United States after he's done with his murder one, for, I think it was defrauding the government and defrauding the Holloways, but I'm not entirely sure. I did watch the Dateline case of this. And I found it interesting that the 2022 Dateline case, because I did look it up and it did say update of 2022 Dateline, it did say that the Aruba police say that they are in the critical last stages of this case. So even though the case has been closed by the Aruba police, maybe they are still technically like working on it also. Hopefully, because we see this kind of like one too many times where police have actually botched a case, and I definitely think that this case was botched by the Aruban police for not investigating right away. I think that the excuse of it being a tourist town is just like so stupid, and the chances of Natalie being found and being on that island are probably very slim. I mean, I'm actually on the one side to believe, like, I do think that she is unfortunately dead. I would love it if they were able to find her alive, and maybe that story your Untold box was somewhat true. But I just have this like feeling that because he was so young, I actually think he was a minor, considered a minor at the time, when she disappeared, which is crazy because they can drink at 18. So just imagine how old. I don't know exactly how old he was. I don't know exactly how old he was, but I know he was considered a minor because I remember from the Dateline that I watched, it was talking about how the police officers were talking about how Yoron being a minor caused a lot of hiccups in the investigation for them, because obviously to question a minor suspect, you have to have the parents there. It's different for if they're a witness, you can talk to them all you want, but if they're a suspect, then the parents have to be there because they're kind of like the way the law looks at it is they're kind of too young to be Mirandized, so the parents kind of have to be there to make sure like the kids understand and know like what they're doing. Because basically a minor, the eyes of the law, is too young to act on their own, basically. Even though he was old enough to try to have sexual relations with her. Which one of his stories actually said that he wanted to have sexual relations with her and he brought her back to his apartment. But he like, him and the Calpo brothers, which the Calpo brothers aren't really the focus of the story anymore because they're not really involved with it. Most people believe that Euron and his father did it. But I think that people forget that the Calpro brothers did have something to do with it because they were definitely involved at first. So the story that they originally told was that she wanted to see the sharks, so they took her to the ocean and dropped her off by these abandoned fishermen huts, and they just left her there, which is kind of like, why? But also, this is what I find amazing. They were actual fishermen at these fishermen huts on the night Natalie disappeared, and they said that there's absolutely no possible way anybody was dropped off there unless they were all three deaf and blind. So that completely contradicts any story Euron has ever said about them taking Natalie to the beach. So if you remember me saying earlier in the story, I believe she disappeared from Carlos and Charlie's, the actual report says that she disappeared from the fisherman huts. But I don't think that it should say that because that's where Euron says was the last place he's seen her alive. I think that it should say that she disappeared from Carlos and Charlie's because that is the last place that people that we actually know and trust that knew her saw her alive. And we have those fishermen there stating that nobody was there. She wasn't there, Euron wasn't there, and the Calpo brothers weren't there. And there's even a video of Euron actually in a car, talking about how lucky he is that no one has found her, because if someone finds her, he's done. And I think that is more than enough evidence for him, because he didn't know he was being filmed, I don't think. But I think that that's more than enough evidence to state that Natalie is probably dead and Euron did it. The only question is where is her remains and who helped him. I think that the original story that the Aruban police believe, which is that Natalie died because Euron put a roofie in her drink and tried, because he wanted to roofie her because he wanted to rape her, obviously. I think that that is more than likely what happened. But anyways, this story is really, really sad, and it's still ongoing to this day. So if you have any information, of course, contact any authority. I have no authority. Please don't tell me you have information. Please contact the authorities. Because we really should solve it. Like, we should try and help people. We should try to solve this case. I mean, this is literally a mother missing her child. Thank you for hitting me in the face with that. I'm a mom of 2 boys. I don't have a daughter, unfortunately. And all I can say is, it would kill me to not have my kids in my life. So, I can only imagine how Natalie's mother is feeling. Thank you. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. All that social media great stuff. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye, guys.